In this video, I'm going to talk about the features of the RapidAPI gateway. The API gateway takes all client requests, understands them, determines which services are needed, and then combines them into a seamless, unified experience for the user. To view all the features of RapidAPI gateway, you need to log into your RapidAPI Studio account by typing rapidapi.com/studio in your search bar. You'll be directed to your Studio dashboard. As you can see, I've already logged in the top right corner. When you publish an API on RapidAPI Hub using RapidAPI Studio, a default RapidAPI gateway is configured automatically for your API. For that, I'm going to click one of the APIs that I've already published. You can view its options from the Gateway tab inside the Hub listing section on RapidAPI Studio right here. This is the Gateway tab. Let's click it. The gateway is hosted at rapidapi.com. Now, all your API requests will be first directed to this RapidAPI gateway and then forwarded to your API endpoint on your custom gateway. Now, let's talk about the features of RapidAPI gateway. The first is authentication and access control. Let's scroll down, and here it is. You can employ the gateway to authenticate API calls from outside, improving your API security. In addition to the default RapidAPI auth right here, you can set up to an extra layer of OAuth 2, header, query, or basic authentication. You can also take advantage of the gateway to intercept all incoming requests and add secret headers and parameters to them. You can then verify them on your backend server. Here you can add the name of your secret headers and parameters, give it a value, select either it's a header or a query from this drop-down menu, and enter a description, which is optional. The second feature is threat protection. APIs are vulnerable to malicious use and attacks, including SQL injections and so on. RapidAPI Gateway provides threat protection that can automatically compare the paths, parameters, header, and body of all the requests. Let's check this out right here. It then blocks the invalid request from reaching the server. Here it is, protects API from SQL or JavaScript injection attacks. And threat protection requires the content type header in request with the body. Request with a body that do not specify a content type header will be blocked. If you're going to enable these protections, your APIs will be protected from all sorts of attacks. Request schema validation is the third feature that RapidAPI Gateway offers. It is another security feature that you can implement using the RapidAPI Gateway. You can set up request schema validation if you haven't implemented it in your API. The request schema validation provides three options. Pass through everything, default. It is the default behavior where if the request contains a header or a query parameter not defined in the API specification, the request will not be blocked. Strip and pass-through. It will pass the request but strip the headers or query parameters not defined in the API specification. And lastly, block. It will block the request if it contains anything not defined in the API specification. The next feature is request configurations. Besides rate limits, you can also implement request size limits using the gateway to prevent misuse and unwanted loads. You can add the size limit here. It will limit too large requests coming to your API, ensuring that your API stays performant. You can also specify a proxy timeout right here. If a request takes longer than specified time, the gateway will abort it. You can mention the time right here in this box. API transformations is another feature that RapidAPI Gateway offers. Here in RapidAPI Studio, I'm getting this indication that this feature is not yet available in the beta version, so I'm going to view it in the previous version. API transformations are powerful. They transform the data sent in your API's requests and responses. You can do a lot using transformations. For example, you can add a secret security parameter to the request, modifying or removing specific parameters, and so on. Here you have two icons, the request transformation and response transformation. In request transformation, you can select from this drop-down menu the action. Either you could remove, remap, or add the key, enter the type, value, scope, and plans. And similarly, in response transformations, you can again do the same. Custom gateway is the last feature that RapidAPI gateway offers. And RapidAPI is gateway agnostic, which means that it supports custom gateways of any type. You can add a custom RapidAPI or non-Rapid API gateway for your API. Then inside the studio, you will be able to select the gateway you want to use right here. At the moment, it's selected to rapidapi.com, as you can see. That's all, folks. When you are done with this, hit the save button and it will be implemented. As we all know, an API gateway is a vital part of the API architecture, and RapidAPI Gateway gives us a good insight into the capabilities it can possess. So what are you waiting for? Go quickly create an API on RapidAPI Studio and explore these features yourself.